The choices I had were I either commit suicide because it's too much, I end up in a mental asylum because it's too much, or I get through this. I didn't know what get through this looked like, but I knew it wasn't the first two. I think every single one of us, there is a point where life gets a little too much. And as a result of that, we shut down, we contract, we move into fear. We're scared of the unknown. So now all that happens is I recycle old ways of being, old behaviors, old reactive patterns, old defensive postures. I think life is full of paradoxes. We crave to be seen, yet we do not want to be seen.
Yeah, facts.
Only in the convenient ways that we want to be seen do we want to be seen. It's basically that.
There are so many people parenting unconsciously that aren't thinking that every action you take for your daughter is going to affect the woman that she becomes.
When men hold and they don't allow themselves to be emotional because they weren't taught that in a family setting, society condemns it, that shit stacks up and it becomes toxic in behavior. It becomes unhealthy expressions. It becomes extremes. It becomes addiction. It becomes violence. It becomes oppression.
As you're navigating all this internal world that you're working on and you're in a relationship, how do you navigate healing and working on yourself, but also still feeling connected to your wife?
Welcome to the Fully Expressed podcast.
We're your hosts, Corinna
and Samantha.
And this is the show where we're inviting you into your fullest expression in life, love, and business.
Enjoy. Hey, you guys, today we have a very special guest. His name is Stefanos Sifandos, and he is a trained educator and relationship expert with a background in behavioral science, trauma, and somatics. He is passionate about leading people closer to their highest potential and works with both men and women to help them escape negative patterns and cultivate a positive sense of self, as well as restructuring and reframing their relationships, the things that matter most to them, with themselves and their loved ones. And he just came out with a book called Tuned In and Turned On, which is all about doing the inner work that most high-functioning, successful people tend to avoid. So their relationships, their intimacy, and their leadership stop costing them so much in their lives. It is a grounded, modern guide to healing old patterns, regulating the nervous system, and reconnecting to truth, desire, and depth, so you are not just performing well, but actually living, loving, and leading from alignment.
What was so beautiful about this conversation with Stefanos was that he really let us into his world, not just where he was in his life from abuse to the man that he is today. And he really walked us through practical things that are happening in his life, like the relationship with his daughter and how that's bringing things up, and how he continues to use the modalities that he teaches and he talks to as he continues to evolve and work through whenever he's met with an edge and in his personal life.
We also talked a lot about what is the thing that people are struggling with most and how can we work to get that connection that we're all craving and seeking. We go so deep in this episode. We get real, we get raw. You're going to hear him in his current process, where he is, and what he really feels is necessary for making this world a more beautiful and connected place.
Enjoy. Hi, Stefanos. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like we have some friends in common and it just ended up being perfect for you to be here today. So thank you. Okay, so where do we even start? I know Sam and I were talking so much about where we wanted to get started, but I think we want to peel the layers back from when you started finding who you are as a man and starting there, getting to know you before you are who you are today. So can you walk us through a little bit of the journey that you've had to really stepping into the man that is here with us today?
Lots of variance in experience and expression is how I'd start that. So range on the spectrum of living life, and some of it, in fact, probably most of it, not very pleasant. In terms of how I've been in the world with other people and with my own life and my own self-perceptions, my own sense of self-worth, how I talk to myself, and then how I've behaved and been with others. And then also what has happened. When I say to me, I don't mean that from a place of relational victimhood, but more so like the things that have just happened in my life, right? And so playing in those extremes of pain and pleasure have brought me to where I am today. And may I say that, extremity is still part of my personality. It hasn't completely left me. I'm not like this Zen Buddhist monk here that has found the middle path, so to
What do you
speak.
mean?
Very far from it. But those experiences, those extreme experiences, violence and not living or growing up on the street, but spending time on the street, doing some pretty bad things, quote unquote, bad things as a younger person, being very dysfunctional in relationship,
Mhm.
largely because of what, and not to excuse my behavior, but more so what I experienced growing up in the role models that were my core relationships, like my mother, my father, my grandparents, my friends' parents, and so forth. Very dysfunctional relationships. And so being in those extremes, having experienced a great deal of abuse growing up as well as a child, being displaced, moving from place to place, being away from family that was stable and safe, and then not having that. And then the way that I've purposely, and it took me a minute, I ignored myself and was in denial for a very long time, for many years until my 30 years of age. The way I've reflected then on those experiences and really worked with them and integrated them in my body as best as I can. I'm still doing that, of course. I'm alive, so I think that journey doesn't end until we die, so to
Mm.
speak.
Yeah.
Um, that has brought me to where I am today. Trying to sort of encapsulate things in a broader sense with some detail at the same time for you.
Yeah.
Was there a moment? Was there something that like flipped for you or switched for you that made you even want to look inwards and do? Because I think so many people can relate to that childhood, that experience, but then, it could take you a very different direction. And obviously it took you to where you are now.
Yeah, there's been many moments. I guess the catalyst that really provoked deeper internal reflection and the follow through on the change, because it happened many times before, but the follow through wasn't there. The consistency in wanting to transform myself and make changes in my habits and so forth, that didn't stick. But what I guess stuck was in my very early 30s. I was in a relationship. We broke up, but the reasons as to why we broke up was what was really activating for me. And she had found out that there was a tremendous amount of infidelity on my end, and that just began a stack of shame spiraling, and a lot of repressed memories came up. And I'd really come face to face. I think I'd really escaped all of that for many years prior to. I never had to come face to face with that. I was never caught, right? I was never,
Mhm.
uh, called forward or called out on that. And when that was discovered, it brought a lot of shame. And the shame then started really activating and triggering, what am I doing with my life? And I was unhappy leading up to that. Like, that's why I say, like, it's moments. And when I say unhappy, I'm not just talking about generally, oh, I'm having a difficult day. I was genuinely unhappy with my existence.
Mm.
I just kept failing. There was start, stop. There was, famine and feast. Very, very similar to what I grew up with, right? The energetics of what I grew up with, the
Right.
volatility of what I grew up with. And I was just playing that out in
Playing
my
it
adult
out.
life, but I didn't realize that. And so that prompted me to say, I have to do something about this, and I actually have to see it through, and I have to go all in again, like extreme personality, right? It works in all directions. And so I did. I work with therapists, I work with coaches, spiritual healers, I work with psychotherapists, somatic nervous system coaches. Like I did everything. I went into a massive amount of debt. I stopped my businesses, which were, failing and just being kept afloat by air anyway. Um, and I just went all in for years
Mm.
on me, but from the perspective of, can I be healthier with myself? And as a result of that, can I relate in a more mature way, in a healthier way with others as well?
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I was going to ask, how did it feel to like pour into yourself and also go into all this amount of debt? Because I think sometimes in the healing space, I mean, as someone who's done healing, my partners have done healing, you want to just pour into yourself, but you also are navigating like, I need to financially support myself and those around me.
It was difficult. Um, I'm reflecting on now having a family and a child. That would be a lot more difficult to do now.
Mhm.
Mm,
So I was very blessed that I was single. No, I was very blessed that I'd spent a number of years. I say looking after my grandparents, but the reality is they were really looking after me. So a bit of backstory is I traveled the world. I worked on cruise ships. I visited many, many countries for a couple of years. came back, lived by myself, and I was very close to my maternal grandparents back in Australia, and I would visit them regularly. And we just had a conversation, and they said, "Just come live with us. We'd love you here. It'd be helpful for us. You know, we're getting older." And so I thought, "Oh, fuck it, why not?" So I did that, and I would support them. And but, I'm half Greek, half Italian. This is my Italian grandparents, so my grandmother with her faculties back then, she would make me food, and that's why I say like they really
You were
looking after
taken
me.
care of.
I was very taken care of, right? But as they got older, I very much took care of them. My grandmother was incontinent. She would fall a lot. She had diabetes, so I would wash her, I would help her, I would do grocery shopping for her. I would whatever. There's a number of things that we helped each other. It was a beautiful, symbiotic relationship. And the reason why I mention that is because towards the end, particularly my grandmother needed 24/7 care. It was just beyond my scope. She needed professional care, right, and support. So we moved her into a nursing home very close to us. And the circumstances in Australia and the US are a little bit different. It was a very nice nursing home, but it's not her home, My grandfather was very upset, and he said, "I want to go in there," but there wasn't a place. And then a place came up like a month later, and he's like, "Nah, I don't want to go right now."
He's like,
like
actually.
60-something years together. He's like, "I think I want my space." I'm like, "Good call. I'll just keep taking you there 3 times a week. It's all good." And he ended up going there a few months later. So all that to say, and it's I share that story because it's hard for me to talk about them and not be emotional. They're very permanent. They are still a permanent fixture in my life. Like, and in part, they saved my life in many, many respects. I feel closer to them than my parents for so many different reasons. And so I was very fortunate to be living in their house. So I say all that to say that I had a home, I had a roof over my head, right? That made life easy. And there were points where I didn't have money for food, right? I didn't, I had friends that would go and take me to the grocery store and say, "Shut your mouth, I'm buying you food here." And, again, I was in a lot of ascetic practices back then as well, fasting and a lot of time in solitude. And so I was really going deep in many different respects with myself. And I was still noticing the debt that was racking up. It was all credit card debt. I was very fortunate for whatever reasons. I had very high limits on my credit cards. So I ended up being, about $150,000 worth of debt, credit card debt, which is, it's just unuseful debt. It's just, very high interest rates and so forth. But I got through that and I was able to pay back that debt, no issues later on. But yeah, it was a scary time because there was just a lot of unknown. That's the path of investing in your own transformation. I don't want to use that word, committing to your own transformation, like really diving deep into the abyss of the unknown and the mystery. Like that is the outcome. It's going to be scary because there's so much unknown. And it's not how well, but how you choose to tolerate and stay in that scariness and that unknown that defines the outcome of that choice. Because life will tempt us in all the different ways, right? To not keep walking that path. I mean, it did for me for so many years. I couldn't not walk that path. Like the choices I had were, I either commit suicide because it's too much, I end up in a mental asylum because it's too much, or I get through this. And so I kept focusing on the whatever. I didn't know what get through this looked like, but I knew it wasn't the first two. And I just stayed on that path until I'm pretty stubborn.
You're pretty stubborn?
Yeah.
That really helped.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So like I said, both ways. I'm stubborn in my patterns that don't serve me, but I'm also stubborn when I choose to do something. Yeah.
It sounds like you leaned into that part of you that was like, we're going to get through this.
Yeah. I really, yes. And I just surrendered to, if I kill myself, and that's it. Or that's what's meant to happen. I'm going to avoid that. I don't want that, but I'm going to do my best to avoid that. If I end up in a mental asylum because there's a break, there's a schism, then so be it. But I wouldn't recommend this path for everyone. I'm not saying that that's what you need. Everyone should do.
No,
Not at
of
all.
course, yeah.
Just what I needed to
It's
do.
your
That was just
experience, yeah.
my experience.
It was your soul's calling.
Yeah.
But I bring it up because I just know there's a lot of people out there that dived into the depths of themselves, right? And then they open up this dark hole of unknown and they don't have anything to hold on to. And so what do they hold on to? Which was really the question that I wanted to ask
Nothing.
you.
Nothing.
You hold on to nothing.
Yep.
Hmm.
Most of the time it's nothing.
Mhm.
And then there's glimpses of something that we manufacture within our own minds. Maybe it's a vision of the future. Maybe it's an anchor point in the past that we
Mhm.
value, like a relationship
Mhm.
or a version of ourselves that we see to be true.
Mhm.
But most of the time it's nothing. You're just wandering in the fucking dark.
It
That's the
really
whole
is.
point.
It really
Like, and you don't know what the next step is. Is it a hole? Is it flat surface? Is it a spike? Like, you don't, it's meant, in my opinion, it's meant to be nothing.
Mhm.
That's the whole point. But that's how we cultivate the tolerance and the resilience and even the self-compassion and the self-love, which lends itself to deeper self-worth, to tolerate the nothingness. Because it's the nothingness, because we want to know, like our egos and our personalities want to know everything. We want to map out the next 100 years if we could.
If we could.
If we could. Well, here's an interesting question. I mean, not everyone answers this. Everyone answers this differently, but if you could know when you were going to die and how you were going to die, would you want to know? I'm actually asking both of you now. Would you want to know? And there's no right or wrong with this, by the way.
It's so funny when you ask that question. I've always talked to myself about how I don't want to die. You know, like I know more of the I don't want to die in this way, or like I see someone suffer in that way. I was like, I don't want that. But I think in my place today in life, I don't think I want to know. I'd rather just find out that day or what's going to happen in that moment and trust that it's going to work or it's going to be good for me.
Part of me wants to say yes, because I think I would put even more into every moment that I knew I had until that
It's
moment.
a great one.
I've also done bufo, so I feel like I have died once and come back. So
Relate.
I'm not afraid of that anymore. I think the only thing I would have fear around is the pain in the moment of whatever it is. But yeah, bring it. That's how I feel.
How about you?
I don't want to know. Don't want to know how or when. I mean, it's there's a lure there to want to know.
It's hard when you have a child too. I mean, I don't have kids. I think if I had a child, I probably wouldn't want to know, because that is the part when I experience bufo, that's ripping away of my identity and the people I love the most was the hardest part. And I think if I had, I mean, it was hard enough losing my dog at the time in the moment, who feels like my child. But if I had a literal child, I think that would be pretty hard. I think I wouldn't want to know. That'd be pretty heart wrenching.
Yeah, things, at least for me, because that's the only direct experience I can speak from, things are very much life, perception of life, my risk tolerance. A lot has changed since having my child. Yeah, and being a father in her life and a fixture in her life. And I also think, just to speak to that, like some of the deepest work I'm doing now, inner work, inner psychological, relational, emotional, spiritual work, is the deepest I've done because of what that dynamic is bringing out in me and what it's activating in me in terms of the quality of parenthood and quality of the father that I am. And, you asked about the man that I am today. And all of it is being, I am questioning it. I am not that I'm doubting myself. Sometimes I do, sure. But more so that I am being confronted with this mirror that is reflecting back to me everything I am and am not, and claim to be, but am not being. It's very confronting having a child, at least for me.
I feel like it brings up every part of yourself you have yet to heal.
100%. 100%. And even parts that quote unquote have healed or you have I have awareness of, and I have worked with. Like there's a equilibration there. There's a deeper connection there. And now this very new, profound experience is amplifying that to the next layer and level of expression and healing, if you like, or wholeness, movement towards wholeness. So I feel like, I don't know, less adequate, more broken, less capable than I ever have felt. Not in all areas of my life, but
But that's actually really beautiful
Yeah, I
because
was gonna say that
there
too.
are so many people consciously unparenting, parenting unconsciously
Mm.
that don't even think about these things, that aren't thinking that every action you take for your daughter is going to affect the woman that she becomes. And to
Hyper
hold
awareness around that.
that, I think, is the biggest challenge that I even think about if I ever want to be a mom, is that because I am so conscious and we've both worked so much on ourselves, there's almost like a higher responsibility. I feel like there is, when you start
Mhm.
to do this inner work, there's a deeper responsibility for you to be a better person for them, to show up better, versus when you're unconscious, you don't even know any different. You're just reiterating the patterns of your parents. And, so often we see like the last thing we want to be is our childhood. We don't want to create that for them. And then somehow all of a sudden parts of it are coming up.
Yeah, sometimes more than parts. And it's my daughter at the moment has some challenges with sleep. She gets to sleep very easy. She wakes up, she gets back to sleep, but she just wakes up early.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that impacts her behavior, that mum and I are running on less sleep. Like it is a fucking gauntlet to run. You know, it's
Yeah. And then to have patience when you have like a
yeah.
few hours of sleep, good luck. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot to hold.
And I have an acute awareness of that as well. And so this is what I'm talking about, it being a mirror. And again, I'm using this as an example because it's just very real and relevant in my
I was gonna
life right
say,
Yeah,
now.
of course.
You can use many other examples
mhm.
that have you confronting these deeper layers of self, right? Anything that promotes growth, anything that's worth experiencing in life
Mhm.
is going to bring these parts out in you. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like even a big mission, um, like a service to the world, a physical task to overcome,
Mm.
health challenges, whatever it may be, like a death with someone close to you. There's
Mhm.
there's there's so many different examples of life that bring out this in us. This just happens to be what I'm really moving through right now. I also just, based on my experience in the world, my own personal experience and everything I've been through, and like I said, I've been very blessed to have a diverse range of experience with people, with myself, with the world. I've been over nearly 100 countries. I've experienced cultures in very rich, meaningful ways. I've submerged myself and continue to in psychotropic medicine and sacrament. Like there's a lot that I feel I've been exposed to, and I feel like I've hardly scratched the surface
Mhm.
either. Having a child is the deepest and most profound medicine journey that I have ever been on, and
Mm.
it's continuous daily.
How do you navigate that? Like on a not like a tactical perspective, but practical way? How do you move through that? Like if there's something in your relationship with your daughter that is a mirror to you, what process do you take yourself through?
Depends on the circumstances, but the foundational principle, if you like, is surrender and trust. And that's very, very hard to do for me because,
What's hard about it? Or what's difficult?
yeah, as much as I like to believe that I'm very open minded and open hearted, and I am, I think every single one of us, and I'll speak for myself, when I'm taken to whatever my edge is in that
Mhm.
moment, I shut down and I
Mhm.
close, right? And in that closing is a form of control. And every single one of us, whether we care to admit it or not, and I'm pretty, again, like I said, I think I'm pretty nuanced, gray, and open in my thinking, but I'm fairly fixed on this point. In my experience with every human being that I've encountered, every single one, there is a point where if life gets a little too much, the perception of life gets a little too much, we want to control. And as a
Mhm.
result of that, we shut down, we contract, we move into fear. We want to control because we want to know. We're scared of the unknown, is what we touched on earlier. And so, what makes it difficult for me is I want to control.
Mm.
And when I go into control, I lose the ability to trust and surrender. I lose the ability to see something beyond my own limitations of what I think is possible. And then I just recycle. So now all that happens is I recycle old ways of being, old
Mhm.
behaviors, old reactive patterns, old defensive postures. I try and rationalize with my 4-year-old
It
like, it's
works.
just, of course it's going to
It's
work.
gonna
Like
work.
to try and control the behavior that's coming from her because it's uncomfortable for me.
You're like, actually, let's try this. She's like, let's not.
It's just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
this is what we do as humans. We want to
I
control.
mean, we do that everything and our businesses and our relationships and our life as we move through the world. We're like, well, if I can manage you, I feel safer. Or if I can protect, it looks like if I can protect you, which is really me protecting myself, it feels safer.
It's just high levels of played out codependence.
Yeah.
And we're externalizing the threat, so we put it outside of ourselves, and then we believe that we can control it. I mean, you see it playing out at a macro level, collective geopolitics, and you see it playing at a smaller level in intimate relationships, and then you see it in your own sense of self, like how we talk to ourselves and how we try and justify and navigate the world even.
Literally. Sometimes I'm talking to myself about my experience. I'm like, wow, I'm very controlling of my experience. It's so funny.
We all do it, and it's the greatest tool that the personality or the ego uses to feel better about self, to stay in what's familiar.
So in this part of your life where you are now, where this is coming up again, how do you get yourself back to that place of awareness? How do you get yourself back?
I have to slow down. And I know this isn't a compliment to myself. I can think very fast, so I can project very fast, so I can go to worst case scenario feeling somatically and thinking very, very fast. Like it somatically meaning more unconscious. Like I collapse and expand time simultaneously. So an example of that, and this is just how I am in my neurodivergent brain, right? And I'm sure there are other people that can relate to this. I don't know. I'm not in other people's heads, but I'm pretty certain that other people can relate to this. In the 25 years I've been coaching and working with people, I've seen this so many times, right? Let's just say my daughter hasn't slept well and she hasn't, because little kids, they're going to need to sleep and they need to eat. It's pretty basic. When they sleep and eat well, they function better. They perceive themselves better. They're calmer. Their disposition is more, pleasant, so to speak. It's just their nervous system is more regulated. So in times when she's not, I can catastrophize. I can go to, she's going to be like, this is a teenager.
Oh no.
This is so difficult for me right now. It was my freedom being taken from me. Freedom's a big value for me, right? And a big pain point too. Yeah. So is my relationship with my wife going to continue to suffer? But this happens in like
a millisecond.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's not a thought.
Immediately.
It's all somatic.
Yeah.
I can think about it later, but it's all somatic. And so in that moment, my body shuts down, right? Because I move really fast. So when I say my body shuts down, it's like, okay, I'm in survival mode now. Now I'm in survival patterns. Now I need to be reactive. Now I need to raise my voice, which is what was done with me. Now I need to say no and control what's happening and put her in a box or put her behavior in a box. Now I've got to be defensive. Now I've got to be sharp and abrasive, right? So all those things are happening and I'm not slowing down. And I've allowed the collapse and the expansion of time in a negative context, in a catastrophizing context, to take control of me. And so now I've just lost control, which is such a paradox, right? Because you're not meant to be in control, but you've just lost control anyway, right? Meant to be meaning
By trying to be in control.
By trying to be, it's such a fucking paradox. And in that moment, when I slow down, and slowing down may look like closing my eyes and even taking a physical step back from the situation, taking a really long, slow breath, and also like this isn't complete. Like literally saying that to myself, like this isn't the end. Because in that moment, I actually think what's happening here is the end of my experience. I mean, not that I'm going to die, but this is how my life's going to be always.
Continue on.
Just going to continue. Like, this is the end result. Like this is it. In that one moment,
You think it's over.
It's over. Like I'm done. This is it. This is my life. It's going to be continuous like this forever. Everything's been taken from me. Everything's been taken from me.
Why did you sign up for this?
I've asked myself, like, why did I sign up for parenthood? Like, I don't sleep. I mean, I do sleep, but sleep is strained.
But in those moments, it's magnified.
Yeah. So magnified. So I have to remind myself, like, this is not the end.
It's temporary.
And I also now when I start slowing down, I start creating space, like literally space to think and feel, and time, it feels like it slows down. So in that moment, I can actually tap into because my daughter's very much like me. Okay, so
of course.
I had to make that clear.
Of course.
Much to Christine's dismay. But because she's got two of us to deal with now that are like me. And so poor Christine.
It's okay. She signed up for it.
She did. She absolutely did, and she knows that. But I at least, maybe not Athena, but I can still make efforts to, evolve.
Yeah.
So because it actually serves me to do that anyway, because it doesn't serve me to be in that fast-paced thinking that's catastrophizing. So now that I've slowed down, I can look at the situation and go, okay, well, why I mentioned why my daughter's like me is like, what did I need as a kid when maybe I wasn't so much like that. I was actually quite the opposite of Athena, but internally I was like she is. She just has the freedom and space to express it because she's safe enough to, because
Right. You haven't created that environment. Yeah.
she didn't have parents like, well, particularly my father, like me. So I go, what did I need? Okay. And I can ask myself that question in real time. Okay, I needed to be met with curiosity, to be met with options, to not be told what to do or confined. So then I can start doing that for her. And then what I start to witness is a different result with her. That's interesting.
Do you think she values freedom in the same way you do?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, maybe not in the same way, but she definitely values freedom. Whether that's just
well, in that context, I mean,
it's a good question. I've never thought of that question actually. Does she value freedom in the same ways that I do? Possibly. Similarly, yeah, and I think that in her own way. But yes, similarly, because she doesn't like being told what to do. So it's like when we give her options, and again, this is developmentally appropriate as well, but when we give her options and choices and we meet her with calmness, she's super cool. So she's being tricked into
into options.
Into options, but not really. But yeah, but irrespective, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't have the cognitive capacity for that just yet. Irrespective, she's still showing that she values freedom if she's calm and regulated with the choices she's being presented. Yeah.
She knows what's good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about, like, as you're navigating all this internal world that you're working on and you're in a relationship, how do you navigate healing and working on yourself, but also still feeling connected to your wife?
That's been really difficult. I think anyone that tells you it's not difficult, at least for a period of time, is more than likely lying. There's a possibility.
They're lying.
Yeah, but more high likelihood of lying. It's difficult because we're in survival mode. At least we feel in that way, especially with the lack of consistent sleep, and then the having to be with some behavioral issues that come as an affliction of that. And again, my daughter's amazing and beautiful and all the things, and just it comes with challenges. And so,
and like we're all terrible when we sleep, when we don't sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's totally understandable.
I think most of us, most of us. I mean, and I'd like to think that again. I'm very blessed. I can function on less sleep, but I still get irritable, and I can do, So we have to prioritize our time together, quality time together. That's got to be foundational. Just being in each other's space, just her and I, without Athena, without other stuff. We work together, and we enjoy that. It's actually it feels very fulfilling and rewarding, and we very much connect over that. And it's time doing that, sure, but time separate to that.
Right, because that's work.
Yeah, just and even though it doesn't completely feel like work to us, it still is, because it's still tethered to building financial acumen and so forth. And so just going for walks, going to the beach, eating together, being intimate together, watching something together, talking about whatever, like interesting things that are really deep and philosophical and rich, and to just talking about shit, doesn't matter. We quality time for us is very foundational. If we don't allocate that, we drift a lot. I travel a lot as well, with work, and so that's really, really important that we have that. And so a couple of times a week we have the capacity to do that, and it's very helpful. And I think Christine does too. We feel it when we don't have it, whether I'm traveling or something else has come up or whatever. So we have to proactively prioritize that. And if we don't, it falls by the wayside, and it makes things very difficult. And our daughter picks up on the disconnection. Like, that's not good for her either. I mean, we may as well not be together. I don't mean to be extreme.
No, but it's absolutely
true. The compound effect of that, though, right?
That's what happens a lot.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how she picks up on the disconnection? Or
Mate,
how you recognize it in her?
yeah, behaviorally.
Hmm.
So she'll act out more. She'll be a little more impatient and reactive herself. Um, if Christine and I aren't connected, because then Christine and I also we are more reactive and frustrated with each other,
Mhm.
even though they're just
Micro.
micro ways in which we do it. Kids pick up on every. They're such sponges. So then she emulates that. Yeah,
We're laughing because we have friends with kids. We say this all the time.
yeah,
Like you just see it. These
You
that
see it. I mean,
they feel everything.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah. And not to say that any time or every time Athena's reactive or frustrated, it's because of Christine
No,
and
yeah, of
I. But
course.
I can definitely notice when that is more prominent in us, how she acts out,
mm,
yeah, or how she just behaves, expresses.
yeah.
How does this reflect in your business? Like not with Christine, but actually with what you do in coaching
Which
other
part?
people. How you navigating this in your life right now? Like how is
Oh,
that being brought into how you're helping others?
yeah. I just think it's because I don't want to say that I'm not necessarily attracting more parents
Mhm.
in terms of clients and so forth.
But it shows up in relationship. I
Oh
think the
yeah, for
first
sure,
mirror is
for sure.
relationship. And
Yes,
then
yeah,
the child is like,
yeah, yeah.
the child's when you think you've done all the work in your relationship. And then they're like, ha, just
Yeah,
kidding. Here you
yeah,
go.
that's very accurately said and very simply said and beautifully said. Yes, I think how it shows up in my work is that there's a maybe greater, but it's a different level of depth that I can access, and so I feel that the relatability to
Mm,
my clients is even richer, irrespective of whether they have children or not. That's not actually, like you said, it's not really relevant per
Relevant.
se.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they do have children, sure, I can relate to them from direct experience, and that's very helpful, of course, because
mhm,
relatability goes a very long way when you feel seen and heard in that way. As people can really, they can get that. Um, and it's more so just I'm practicing more patience. I'm practicing not being in my reactive survival self. I'm actively practicing communicating differently with
mhm,
myself, with my daughter, with my wife. I'm actively practicing being more empathetic and understanding and wanting to
mm,
understand the other person's perspective before I just launch into my own, right? Largely because I want to be an example for my family. And I also want that from my family too. So I've got to lead in that way. So that those are other ways that it shows up in my working relationship with my clients as well.
mm.
Mm.
What are some of the most common themes or patterns that you see in relationship that your clients are navigating?
Well, if we start with relationship with self,
Mhm.
um, low self worth. So there's a belief that they can't. There's this I'm incapable
Yeah, where does that
belief.
come from?
I think that comes from a number of places. I think it comes from very high expectation that society places on performance and success.
Mm.
I think it comes from unresolved and unprocessed trauma, intensity experienced by a young nervous system that has never really been resolved, feeling unsafe and growing up feeling unsafe in the world, experiencing abuse, violence, volatility, disharmony, uncertainty, and
Mm.
not having anyone to really support that individual through that. And
Mm,
so it has a direct reflection on how someone sees themselves. They'll see themselves undeserving or unworthy. And then, stories play out from that. Internal self talk and rhetoric plays out from that. How we take action, how we lean into intimacy and vulnerability and possibility, that all affects that as well. We're more
Mm.
retracted, more fearful, we control more, and we just, we compare. That's the first thing I said about how society is places very high expectations on performance and success, how it determines that. We compare. And when we
Mhm.
compare, it's an immediate losing because what we see in the media, what we see on the surface is not actually what's happening.
mm,
It's not, it's just not, it's a brief snapshot moment in time, whether it's a model on the side of a bus or this Hollywood lifestyle that someone's living, the destitute and disparity that lives behind that
Mm.
is 99.9% of the time there. And
mhm,
so, but we have this perception of this person, this is how we need to live, like this is the pinnacle of it. And so we're
Mhm.
comparing our measly existence to that. But again, all of that's being fed by unprocessed, unresolved, unattuned nervous systems and self perceptions,
mm,
like old stuff, like from
Yeah.
childhood, like being bullied maybe as a teenager, being excluded, moving around a lot, parents being divorced, being caught in a sea of siblings and not
Mm.
mattering, or at least you thought you didn't matter, you know, parents being drug addicts. I mean, I could just
Mhm.
go on and on and
Yeah.
on, like
I
all of this stuff.
know.
I'm using these examples because I think people can relate to them, you know.
Yeah.
Being adopted, like it's nothing wrong with being adopted, by the way, but what we make that shit mean,
Right.
you
Mhm.
know,
The
and maybe,
stories we
yeah,
tell.
and maybe being adopted by malicious caretakers as well.
Yeah.
Like that's even another layer. Like there's just so many layers to what impacts, you know, what people, you ask me what people are seeing, you know,
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's so sneaky too, because I want to say
very,
like some people that are very successful and look like they have it all together. They walk into the room and they're the most confident, but they might be leading from a place of unworthiness,
most are.
and we don't realize that. And I don't know, like maybe unworthiness is the real epidemic that we're in,
Yeah.
I think,
because
mm,
it's so rooted, and it's so sneaky.
yeah.
It can be so sneaky, or it can be so apparent.
Yeah, I think self-esteem and self-worthiness or unworthiness is an epidemic for sure. I think what runs even deeper, and this is, I'll just share
Hmm.
this now. This is my next book that's coming out, is our sense of belongingness.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you know, when you ask that original question around like, what am I seeing in what are some of the biggest challenges people are facing? People don't know where they belong, and their sense of belongingness is either distressed, distorted, or totally dysfunctional, non-existent,
Mm.
right? And belongingness is everything. When you look at even just global business trends at the moment, people are less concerned with price and product and more concerned with community,
Mm-hmm.
more concerned with connecting with like-minded people, moving to a place where they can be with people. What feeds that is, I don't know where I belong, and I need to belong to feel worthy, to
Mm-hmm.
feel enough, to feel grounded, to feel safe, to feel like I can breathe.
Mm.
And this deep sense of not belonging is very ancient. It's both cosmic and earthly, meaning that people just feel separate. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you don't belong, you feel separate. And if you feel separate from God, from the divine, from the universe, you feel separate from earth. I can't say how many people I know that don't really want to be here. They
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
keep thinking about, um, you know, being in the spirit realm because they're so disassociated.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't feel like they belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's an affliction of repressed and unprocessed trauma or intensity experienced by the nervous system that's locked in and stuck, right? And so these patterns keep playing out. They
Mm.
keep playing out, and when we believe that we don't belong or that we're not connected to anything, life isn't really worth living.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to renew that sense of self again. And
Mm.
part of how we do that is by dealing with in a relational way, right? In a way
Mm-hmm.
that has us feeling like we belong. I'll explain what I mean by that. We have to deal with and face this stuff that we've been avoiding all of our lives.
Mm.
And when I say in a relational way, we have to be surrounded by other people that witness us in non-judgmental and compassionate ways
Mm-hmm.
to show us that tenderness and care and not having an agenda
Mm.
for your healing or well-being actually exists.
Yeah.
Like that's the shit that moves the needle.
Not having an agenda for your healing.
Yeah.
That lands so deeply.
It's basically that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about someone in particular I know that is a very spiritual person and is working in this life to evolve in their mind beyond this realm. And in my mind, the first thing I thought is like, you're afraid to let people in your life. You're afraid to belong. Like, you're afraid to have friendships and create community. And it shows up as, well, I can't relate to them because I'm up here and everyone else hasn't figured that out.
Mm.
And it's just so interesting to witness that because I think there's so many variations of that. And in the depth of what you're saying is like people want to be seen as all of them in what they are and find those people that are going to see them. And yeah, I think that was just such a beautiful way to put it because I can think of so many examples of people that don't want to be here in various ways. Maybe they're suffering or maybe they have
Mm.
everything and it's
Still
not
not
enough.
enough. Not enough, right? Like I said, empty
Mm-hmm.
success syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That's so common. And that's the comparison. There's always something better.
Mhm.
There's always something that I'm missing out on.
Mm-hmm.
And that again, like we just go back full circle for a moment. very, very little trust and surrender in that process
Mm.
of life that you're in.
Mhm.
If you're thinking that what you have is not enough, it's because you're not enough. And you're not enough because you don't think you belong to anything that's meaningful.
Mhm.
It's a that to me is the epidemic.
And
That's the
the
pain
ego is
point.
so sneaky because it'll
Very
tell you, oh, well, these people just aren't my people, or I can't relate to them because of this, or I'm more this, or I'm more that, when really all of it is just you're afraid to let people into your world.
basically. And then look at and allow others to look at why that's the case. And that's vulnerability. That means coming face to face with your shame and being exposed and being seen. It's the thing that the paradox again, I think life is full of paradoxes. We crave to be seen, yet we
Mhm.
do not want to be seen.
Yeah, facts.
Only in the convenient ways that we want to be seen do we want to be seen.
So, how do you help? I'm curious about men because I think a lot of women are really rising up and creating community. And I think inherently women are easier to get to become more vulnerable. Like you can put them in spaces and it's easier to make them feel comfortable, to open up, to be seen. I think naturally women thrive in community and so we seek out friendship, we seek out community
We're
a lot
healing.
a lot more than men, and I'm just
Mm.
curious, like, how do you navigate that? Because there's so many men who can benefit from everything you're offering and saying, but I think they hold the most resistance.
I agree with what you're saying around your comments around picking up women and putting them in community. Be they are better naturally in community than men. Men are more, generally speaking, more isolated, especially modernity, right? In modernity,
Modern
yeah,
men.
Yeah.
particularly, yeah, because
They didn't
we
used to be. They used to be
no
in tribes. Yeah.
correct, yeah, and we used to really rely on each other. The value and the skill set that we brought to the tribe enhanced the survivability and the thriving capacity of that
Mhm.
tribe, and so we used to take great pride in what is our skill, what is our
Mhm.
contribution, what is our service, right? And doing that together because it was strength in numbers. Um, I would put something interesting forward though, right? Again, more so from an evolutionary perspective.
Mhm.
Um, yes, females may be better in community, but I do wonder if it's more out of survival than genuine, heartfelt belongingness and connection.
Mm.
Meaning that, like, again, purely from an evolutionary perspective, and just I've been thinking about this for so many years, on and off. I contemplate these I guess theories, if you like,
Mhm.
and link them to, okay, well, if that's true, if part of that's true, how does it change who we are today, and how does it help us access more genuine connection today, like for that purpose,
Yeah.
right? And if you think from, again, if these things are true, from an evolutionary perspective, if bands of men would go out for days and weeks and hunt and so forth and be out more in the world, and women who have developed acute sensory perception of their environment and so forth because they've had to remember certain tracks and map out a physical environment of their surroundings and so forth, and they've had to band together.
Mm.
Have they done so out of necessity, and has that caused genuine connect or lent itself to genuine connection, or is it still rooted in more survival? And I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's more just a genuine exploration. What I do see though in modern times is that, generally speaking, women have a greater capacity to connect and be in groups. And I mean, I think it's like 70+% of personal transformation is women,
Mhm.
right? Like there's clearly reasons for that. But I also see a lot of fear and the sister wound and the mother wound that
Mhm.
lives within women, as I see that within men, like
Mhm.
the father
Oh,
wound and the brother
100%. Yeah.
wound. Like, men don't trust other men.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is, I actually don't think women really trust other women either,
No.
generally speaking,
Mhm.
right? I think it's the same. It's just that they, on the surface, come together and it's more surface level,
Mhm.
and it's a form of manipulation for control. Whereas men are a little more overt. I think the same thing's happening basically. We don't trust each other.
Mhm.
And men are doing the same thing, but they're more overt and they're saying, no, I'd rather be by myself, because if I'm the lone wolf, there is a perception in my mind that that is more valued in society. And if
Mm.
that's more valued in society, then I'm going to get more accolades for accomplishing more on my own. Therefore, I'll keep other people away. And weakness isn't preferred in society. So I can't be vulnerable as a man either. There's a lot of things happening here, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to condense it in one. I can't be vulnerable as a man because that's perceived as weakness, and then
Right.
I'm not valued in society. Whereas for a woman to be emotional, it's acceptable, right? Well, tell a lie actually, because if she's angry, that's not acceptable.
Right.
Just like if a man's sad, that's not
She
acceptable.
can't be too emotional.
Can't be too emotional,
Mhm.
or
Or it can't be a negative emotion.
yeah,
Yeah.
Perceived as negative.
yes, but men can be a certain way, but then not another way. Like there's so many distortions in our society of how we treat each other, and we're forgetting this to me, it's a very simple concept of we're humans first.
Right.
I'm not saying that gender differences don't exist in the way we process the world, maybe, hormonal brain function or not function so much or expression. I'm not saying none of that exists, but we're human first. Like we all carry a capacity again to want to connect, to want to belong, to want to be seen,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yet we try and manipulate and control in all these funky ways that don't actually allow us to get close to the thing that we want.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, I know so many women that have been part of sister circles. Again, this is anecdotal, right? That have been part of sister circles where there's so much manipulation and so much competition. It's
Mhm.
just, it's more covert than overt. With men, it's
Mhm.
just more overt. Men will overtly be competitive and say, fuck you. But
Yeah.
both lead to the same outcome, which is I feel alone and isolated.
Mhm.
I don't know how that's helpful. I think you ask the question is like, how do we come together, right? There needs to be a desire at an individual level to dissolve the ego enough to um, lean in and, face our fears, face our shames, face our judgments and our projections and be witnessed in those. And there has to be agreements and commitments in place from the people that is happening with. And I don't expect this to happen in large circles of millions and millions of people across nations. It has to happen in small circles
Yeah.
first, right? Where there's agreements that I will meet you where you're at. I will share with you my truth, but I'm not going to project back on you or judge you. And if I do, I'm going to at least eventually acknowledge that. Like we don't have agreements in how we want to communicate with each other, whether it's sister circles or men's circles. And I will say that there is an uprising of like the mythopoetic movement in the 70s for men that brought men together and started bringing men back to their own bodies. There's a revival of that, maybe not in the same way, but there's definitely more and more. I mean, especially
There's
here,
more.
yeah, there's more men doing that inner work, more men being more mindful and attuned to themselves and wanting to not be alone, like wanting actual friendships and brotherhood. And like there's in Australia, I think it's actually here in America, but in Australia, there's something called the men's shed, where older retirees, men, they've literally built these big sheds where they do woodwork and metalwork and shearing and stuff. And younger people go there and they teach it so that men, even are sort of at that level, it's not necessarily spiritual, although I would argue that it is.
Yeah.
It's happening. And so there is a movement because I think people are fed up of being so alone.
Mhm.
So I think it's organic and natural, but we have to, if I was to simplify all of this, I would say we have to stop demonizing our expressions. We have to start normalizing. Um, we have weaknesses, like we have deficits, we have soft spots, not only as men but as humans, right? We have vulnerabilities, and we have to start normalizing that those vulnerabilities, those soft spots, those weaknesses, those fears that we have, whatever they are, they don't have to be permanent, especially for men, right? And to have a space where they can just release, because when men hold and they don't allow themselves to be emotional because they weren't taught that in a family setting, society condemns it, that shit stacks up and it becomes toxic in behavior. It becomes unhealthy expressions. It becomes extremes. It becomes addiction. It becomes
true.
violence. It becomes oppression. In men. In women, I see it a little differently. It doesn't necessarily become that. It becomes more manipulation. It becomes more self-hatred. Right?
Yeah.
There's
A lot more comparison.
a lot more comparison. It becomes even more distortion in the physical, which we're seeing with men now as well. It's so interesting and fascinating to see. And just to be very clear, because I want to preface my perspectives on this, I have nothing against plastic surgery or
Right.
changing the way we look. I personally haven't done any of that. I don't think I will, but that's not. I have no judgment towards that. However, I am seeing extreme cases of this, even in men. Like men are breaking their legs. You know this? Men, so men are
I think I've heard this before.
breaking their legs and lengthening because they want to be taller because they're too short.
Well, women are breaking their ribs and then wearing corsets to be skinny, like have a smaller waist. So very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
It's crazy.
There's extremes of this happening, like where you've got to ask you, like, okay, where is this now becoming a pathology?
Yeah.
Right? Like, where is it?
But we also don't respect our elders. We don't care for our elders. We don't take in the wisdom of our elders, which is why no one wants to age, because we've made it like a terrible thing to have wrinkles and get old and have your face actually move, instead of just realizing like, oh, I'm almost 40. I'm not 25. Why am I trying to look like I'm still 25? And then also doing a disservice to every person above us that has something to guide us through and teach us.
That part, both, I really resonate with everything you just shared. But that we don't. I think we're missing out on such a valuable stage of growth as humans by not embracing eldership and the wisdom that comes with that.
We feel the same way. We've had nothing done and we don't want to have anything done. We just want to age.
And also just excited. I feel like the older that I get, the wiser I am, and the more that I learn and the more real that, I don't know, I'm excited to meet myself at that age.
Do you think part of the issue, when just taking it back to when you were saying like women and men in community and competition, I'm so curious, like, I wonder sometimes, is it the depth you're willing to meet yourself at is what you receive when you enter community? Because, the community, yeah. Because the community that we've cultivated there's no competition. That's the feedback we get all the time, is that, wow, I feel so seen. I feel so safe. I can be accepted.
Everyone's
and
welcomed.
That's how we live our lives through the work we've done within ourselves and are continuing to do. And I'm just curious if it's that also, like, when we enter these communities wanting to be seen, we're still holding ourselves to this matrix system of competition, or like, well, I want to be seen, but we're holding someone to a value based on money or based on financial status or based on whether they're a parent or they have kids or whatever, instead of just showing up and saying, who are you?
Like, this is who I
as
am.
a person, versus like, what have you accomplished?
I think what you're touching on is the agreements that you have in the communities that you're a part of and that you want to build. Just what I touched on earlier. When we have covert agreements, relationships go to shit. When we have clear agreements where we're truth sharing with what we need and what we want, and we're willing to be challenged with our ideals as well, and be reflected back to the people that we trust, we cultivate a more conscious, essentially, what are the principles and the vision of the communities that you're part of? Ultimately, I think for humanity, it's for all of us to win together, right? And I think every community has to have an element of that as well. Like, how do we win together? What does that look like? You've got to be aware and deliberate and intentional. I'm generalizing here, but most communities, most of the world is not deliberate and intentional.
No.
And I don't say that as look at me or look at you or us, we're better than them because we're intentional. I don't say it from that place. I say it from a place of, we're so busy, generally speaking, if there are 8 billion people in the world, and I don't know if that number is completely accurate for lots of different reasons, but let's just say it is, right? The Earth's flat. No, I'm joking.
I mean, honestly, at this point, anything is possible, literally.
Yeah. But let's just say there's 8 billion people on the planet.
He's in the right space.
Don't worry, we're on the same page.
No, I'm not. I definitely contemplate all of that and so much more. I've been watching David Icke and
I love David Icke.
Yeah, anyway.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
that's a whole rabbit hole in itself.
I just saw a clip. My friend JP was did a skit with what's his name? He's been taken through the mud. His name will come to me. Anyway, my point is that if there are 8 billion people in the world, my sense is that the vast majority, no matter how many there are, the vast majority of us are really in survival mode.
Yeah, 100%.
The vast majority are living below a poverty line. The vast majority don't have healthy, clean food to eat and water to drink. There's no space for overt agreements on how do we emotionally, relationally, spiritually expand. We've got a lot of other issues we need to address first. And so instead of going way big and into the macro, stay with the community that you're in. Again, my point to that is that most people don't, whatever community they're part of, it's like everything is by default. They are victims to their circumstances. Life is happening to me, not life is happening for me or through me. It's a victim mentality. Most of us just, that's our default operating system. And in order to get through that, there's a combination of life circumstances have to be in the sort of like the perfect environment, meaning that you can't be too poor, so to speak. You know, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your physical needs have to be met at the very least, right? There's something to that. You then have to be at a place in your life where you want to change, where there's ability for you to change and shift. You have to be surrounded by people that facilitate that growth and see you and witness you and are also on that train. Like, there's so many things that need to happen. And so with that said, the majority of us are in survival mode. So when you have the opportunity to build a community, create a community that is deliberate to your values, irrespective of what they are, like, put that aside, that's secondary. But when you're intentional and you create those very overt, open agreements, I mean, that's, to me, that's how transformation occurs. That's how depth occurs. That's how we start to realize that we're more than just these surface level human beings.
Can you name me as an example of an agreement?
Sure. Like, how do you want to argue? Like, how do you want to disagree?
Well, that's really one of the biggest problems is we're never taught how to properly communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you want to use a Socratic method? Do you want to actively listen and then repeat back? Or do I want to cut you off mid-sentence and tell you to get fucked because I disagree with you? Like, how do we want to actually disagree? Do we want to take 24 hours to do some research and come back? I'm giving you whatever.
No, I mean, this is so good because I think if we could answer that, you know, relationships would be so much better. We would communicate so much better. When we got into our relationship, that was the first thing we talked about. Was like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when we disagree? What are we going to do? Or like when I close off, like, what can you expect in my communication skills? Or if I drop the ball, how are you going to navigate that? Like, we talked about that very, very early on in our agreement, in our business partnership.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, again,
and if
that's
you can
very
take
mature.
that everywhere.
Okay, I'm going to say
It's
something.
mature.
I'm going to say something to you, and I just don't take offense to this. You're projecting your excellence onto the world.
No, I'm sorry.
I say it as a compliment.
The thing, so I'm curious. Well, I'm curious. You said, you know, as someone who's also very well traveled and has been fortunate to see very different ways of living. You know, it's interesting because there's this spiritual awakening that appears to be happening in the Western world specifically, where there is privilege because a lot of us are not at the poverty level of the majority of the world. So, but there's also almost like I don't know how I'd say, a blind spot or I think that there's a lot of people in that world that still are not operating from a place of recognizing and understanding that the majority of the world is very, very intensely suffering. And so what are the steps, like, in your opinion? Because yes, I think actually in those places they've done a much better job of building community and supporting one another because of survival, and they have to, and that's how they make it through life. Is like, how do we start to cultivate a world where we actually not only awaken to ourselves but also realize that this is also happening, like that we can make the world better by showing up. Like, what is the answer to that? How do we get to that place where there isn't, and maybe that isn't the world we're meant to live in, where there is no, like, there's no, I mean, there's always going to be struggle, but maybe there's not poverty. Maybe there's water for everyone, food for everyone. I mean, I'm definitely in the belief that there are enough resources for everyone to have that.
Most people don't know what to do if they're out and about and they need to go to the toilet and they don't like shitting in a public place, right? And I'm not meaning to be facetious.
No, but yeah.
But
I think that's also part of the problem is, like, people are so self-consumed.
Well, that, and also the question you're asking is a very big question. It's a massive question. Like, again, most people, not most people, but there are so many people that have their own idiosyncrasies with life, their own OCDs, because we all live on a spectrum of OCD, right? That possibly thinking about how do we feed 8 billion people is so overwhelming, even with, like, okay, do you consider yourself privileged? Okay, so how would you feed 8 billion people with your privilege?
I mean, in the deep root of it, I think that I can't. So, I mean, how I operate from is that if I can show up as the healthiest, best version of myself, that my energy, like I can't change anyone else. I can only change myself. So I do believe that at
That's
the root.
exactly how I would answer your question.
Hmm.
That's really all we have control over is that.
Hmm.
It's 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 such a big. I often think about this, right? Like in all the places that I've been to and all the things that I've seen, because we're very good as humans at projecting and meaning making
Mhm.
and projecting our values and how we think, onto the world,
Hmm.
right? And what if let's just what if the statement, just for a philosophical perspective, what if the statement of most of the world or at least half of the world's in poverty, what if that's actually not true? What if all we're seeing here is San Clemente? I mean,
True. Maybe it's
That's
only in
all that we
comparison to
see.
here. That's true. Yeah.
what if, and I'm not trying to discount the reality or the possible reality of that, or us moving away from not being responsible. That's not necessarily the right word, but caring,
Hmm.
right? But how I would answer the question you asked me is exactly my sense was that's how you answered it was what I thought you were going to say.
Hmm.
And I think that's a very mature, actually empowering. I think it's disempowering to think we can quote unquote save the world.
Hmm.
I think it becomes too overwhelming. That's not to say you can't think big. I remember Tony Robbins sharing about when he was impacted, regardless of what you think about Tony Robbins, not you too, of course, just anyone. This story was interesting. He at Thanksgiving or something, or Christmas, he got fed and it really changed his life. And so he's on this mission, like, how many people can I feed? How many people
Hmm.
can I feed? Like, how many meals can I do? And he's obsessed with that, right? Like, and it's one of the things that he's obsessed with. And he's got billions and billions of meals that he's done and so forth. It's not to say that he can't make an impact. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because look at how his life was changed. If that is true, like, look at how his life was changed from that act of kindness and generosity. Now he's doing that for billions of people, at least contributing to that and organizing that, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying we can't make a difference.
Hmm.
But I am saying that the most important fundamental first thing is
Self.
us,
Mhm.
self, right? And again, like, we're a continuous work in progress. So don't let that be the thing that stops you from helping others or supporting others or being kind or a compassionate gesture towards someone else. But I think we often go to, how can I save the world? Or how can I save 8 billion people? Or how can we stop poverty? Or how can we? And they're worthy questions to ask, because I don't think we're flourishing as a humanity.
Mm.
Like, if all of that stuff is true, which it is, like nuclear bombs and war and being so territorial and
Yeah.
all the, like, is that really the highest expression of our humanity? I mean, it's sort of disappointing.
It's
Like,
kind of sad.
that's the level of our evolution and consciousness. So yeah, I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
change that. And the
Where do
only
we
thing
start?
that is, yeah, really in our locus of control is here. Like,
Mhm.
even that is debatable. There is so much research and schools of thought that say we are simply byproducts of past afflictions
Mm.
on repeat and being reactive. Every choice we make is not actually our own. We're not that autonomous.
Mhm.
We don't have that much free will. It's all
I was going to ask you
physiological,
if you believe in free
neurochemical.
will.
It's a whole
I
nother
love this
conversation.
question.
Yeah,
It's a hard one.
I believe in a combination of, I think, free will and determinism.
Mm.
Um, and the more I sit with it, the more I lean more towards determinism,
Mhm.
meaning that,
It's all predestined and you're just experiencing it in real
yeah,
time.
whether it's physiologically predestined, hormonally, neurologically predestined in this lifetime, or whether it's a
Combination of
multiple,
all your
yeah,
lifetimes.
yeah,
Mhm.
or a combination of cosmic forces working in whatever synchronistic way they're working that is way beyond our scope of
Understanding.
awareness and understanding.
Mhm.
Possibly more that, and that requires a lot of trust and surrender as well, right?
I agree. That's
Yeah.
what I feel.
We talked
I
about
don't
that
think we have free
recently.
will. I think we have a free I think it's we're either in resistance or we're in surrender. And that's the choice we get, is to resist or surrender. But then you could take it further and say, well, you were always going to resist until you didn't. But
I can't
then
disagree with
people
that.
sometimes are like, well, then what's the point? But the point is you've already mapped it all out. So just surrender and enjoy the ride. Easier said than done.
Yeah, I know. I think there is a point though. Like, I even when we spoke about knowing whether we want to die or not and how and so forth. Like, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm pretty sure he was with Joe Rogan. I was speaking about this years ago. No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he was basically talking about, hey, do you need, like, if you could live 1,000 years, right? Would that motivate? There's two questions to this. So if you could live 1,000 years, or if you knew when you were going to die, like, would that motivate you to do all these things now? And he was arguing it shouldn't motivate you.
It should just not matter.
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And your passion and exploration, your zest for life, this is, I'm paraphrasing now, but this internal wellspring that we pull from of inspiration, we don't need this endpoint of, oh, I'm going to live 1,000 years or 10,000 years, or I know when I'm going to die, so I'm going to do this thing now. All of that's irrelevant. You want to create or achieve something great, then just be in the pursuit of that, in the embodiment of that now. But that's the thing so many of us struggle to access. It's maybe that self-inspiration, self-motivation.
Yeah.
So that then becomes an interesting question for me. It's like, okay, like, why is that? Why is that? Why do we need this external force of death? Or that's what you're basically saying, that you don't need death to create and produce and be and live. You don't need death to live, is what he's saying. There's interesting conversations about that. But I get that part though. Like, what if we could not self-motivate, that's not the right term, but just be inspired simply by life, like the vitality of life moving through us. And we could access that, not every moment, but just more than we do now. I wonder how that would impact everything around us.
Maybe we just need to drop some psychedelics on everybody. And
Well, that I'm a big believer of.
I mean, I think Bufo is what reinvigorated me for life and taking more inspiration. Because before that, I definitely probably was more in the camp of like, whatever, I don't know, what are we doing? And when you experience that, you realize how like special the physical world is, and how this is a moment.
It's so special. It's so special. It's so beautiful. I often have conversations about going to Mars. I fucking want to go to Mars.
For what? The Rock? We can't even get through the Van Allen belt. It's okay.
I love it.
It's gonna keep going.
It's so good.
I feel like this is I
love this planet, is my point.
Yes.
I mean, I want to live this world. I want to be, we talked about this recently. I was like, if I'm here, I'm going to make the best of it. You know,
and there's
I'm like,
so much beauty. Like, that's why I do think the choice maybe we have is to how you perceive
what
life.
You recognize, like what gratitude, like essentially, like just to simplify it, it's being grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, look where we live. I mean, it's a bit rainy and gloomy. Even that, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, we live in a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Again, forget about the 8 billion people, right? Like, just
800,000 people.
Like, yeah, possibly. Like, where we are right there, it just, a few hundred meters that way is the beautiful ocean. I mean, the ocean is magnificent. I mean, the ocean for me, it saved my life. It is literally a lifesaver. Yeah. It has been for me.
We love the water.
Same. Yeah. We love the ocean.
We're so blessed. Even when life is really difficult, there is deep blessing that. And again, I'm not perfect at accessing that 24/7, but I like to think, I imagine, what if we could, not to be an avoidance or bypass. I'm not interested in that. That's not my MO. That's not how I live my life, but more so just to be able to touch these very sacred places. And by the way, being in pain is sacred. But that's my whole point. Like, what if being in pain wasn't considered, okay, if it's perpetual, it's a different story. If it's pattern induced and it's from psychopathy or like psychosis or pathology, there's a different conversation. But what if in the moments of despair, we just embrace them and we didn't make them mean something horrible and terrible and that we're unworthy, and we actually just really felt it, really just submerged deep into it. The stuff that's uncomfortable and undesirable. How would the world be different if you just every single individual one of us did that? I don't know. I just find that an interesting question.
I think it's a wonderful question for everyone that's listening to spend some time on.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time avoiding.
We do.
Yeah,
we're pretty good at it.
Yeah,
I spend most
of my life doing it.
But I think just bringing it full circle to what you said earlier is that you went from a place of realizing that things were happening to you, that they were happening for you. And I think that's the shift, the mindset shift that is a struggle. But when you can realize that every bad thing you perceive happened to you, it is all a part of this journey that has brought you to where you are right now. And it's teaching you resilience and trust, inner trust. And I think that those things, when you can face them and open to them, are what create the belonging. Because you realize you're not alone in the
Mm,
pain, you're not alone in the experience.
mm. And that all the experiences that we have are part of our belongingness story. They're not separate, even if they're uncomfortable or undesirable. They're all part of our story of belongingness and
Mhm.
our story to want to be witnessed and to
Mhm.
witness others. Yeah,
The number one thing that we all have in common is our feelings. And it's the last thing that we ever want to talk about.
very interesting point.
We do. I mean, everyone carries shame. Everyone carries guilt, sadness, anger, frustration. No matter what your circumstances, we're all feeling that on some extent. And I always say, I was like, if we could just talk about that more, everything, the walls just drop. We all realize that we're all actually belong because we're all feeling the same things
Yeah, if we could
and
actually allow
navigate them.
ourselves to feel it more,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
To not just talk about it more, but to
But to
actually
feel
feel
it.
it
Yeah.
in witness of someone else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And normalize it like it's
Mm,
inherently good. It's not bad or scary, overwhelming. It's good.
mm. Yeah, and it is a part,
Mhm.
an intrinsic part of our lives. We try, and this is again the control piece. Like we try and deny so much of what is a natural part of life. I really like what you said around feeling is the thing that we have in common the most, and it's the thing that we don't want to look at the most or talk about the
Mhm.
most. It's very true.
Mhm.
I think because
Oh,
we associate it with weakness.
Especially in masculinity and with men, for sure.
even
Big
women,
time.
though, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
I mean, we're all going through the same thing. I love that you said that earlier. It was
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, we're all navigating it. It's just in a different way, or the way we go about it's a little different, or like a shift of energy, or it looks a little differently. But
We're all like, what the fuck are
we're-
we doing here?
Same shit.
it's all the same.
Maybe next time we go to the ocean planet.
I actually would prefer to go down, explore the
where's
ocean.
Gerald?
That's another conversation.
Did you hear that? Gerald the
No.
dolphin? Oh,
We
we'll
could share it
later.
after.
Please.
Okay, one more question we have for you. So where in your life are you feeling called to be more fully expressed? This can be life, love, or business.
I don't mean to. I'm one of those people. If you say do one thing, I want to do three. If you say three, I want to do seven. But
It's all
all
of
those
it?
areas, like,
Yeah.
I really, I mean, genuinely, all those
Mhm.
areas. My relationship with my wife, my um, identity as a father. Um, I'm being more. I've been healthy for a very long time, or what I perceive to be healthy. Very active, very high performing in my physical body. Um, I really pride myself on my physical adaptiveness, and I'm wanting to go even deeper in that now as I get older. Especially dialing in my relationship with food, because that was a big coping strategy for me growing up as a little kid, and that just carried over, and it still it still is a thing for me. So I'm really in process of harnessing that. Um, there are a couple of areas of my business that are just taking off tremendously, which is super exciting. I want to deepen into that. And there are parts of my business that are dying. And I am struggling to let that go a little bit because there's a very strong identity associated with that. And so I want to grow in that area as well. I want to learn or practice to surrender and trust more, because letting that go means I'm letting revenue go. And I've done this before in my life, but it's just a different level of scary now. It's a different level of identity association that I have. And so I want to up level and grow into whatever that new version of me looks like from a business perspective as well. So just all areas of life, like really, really all areas. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, the beautiful part about all areas is like you do in one area, it impacts the other area,
I think so.
But thank you so much for bringing your honesty, your vulnerability, and let us into your world and your mind, just like really walking us through the step by step. And it's really beautiful to witness like the depths that you can go to with all these concepts that you have.
Thank you.
Excited to read your new book?
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, I won't be out for a while. The one that just got released is
the tune in,
tune in and
Tune in,
yeah.
turn on.
But I think the belongingness or belong will be out probably, I mean, maybe next year. Maybe it depends how quickly I
It'll
move
be in
on
the
it.
divine time, the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
time.
The
yeah.
perfect timing. I mean,
Yeah.
it just hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's such a drive for in-person community and people are just craving real connection. And it's going to get louder with AI, which is like a whole nother conversation that we could have.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and fascinating conversation.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you
you.
so
Appreciate you
much.
both. Thank you.
We hope you loved today's episode and that it sparked something in yourself on your journey to becoming more fully expressed.
Don't forget to check the show notes for all the details and resources from today's conversation. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and takeaways as it really helps us to create better content that actually serves you.
This week, we invite you to show up even more as you, more honest, more real, more expressive in your life and business. And we'll see you on the next one.